how did I get to 253,640 miles the second time on a second Ford Edge? Let's go ahead and check it out. Got a good cold start going on here. This is what the engine sounds like at over 250,000 miles. 3.5 Duratec. Pretty clean body lines. No real road warrior stuff going on here. Shopping carts occasionally, things like that. No rust to speak of, except for the rear hatch. It has a little bit of rust on it, and I did a fluid fill on the back of that on the seam. That seems to have, no pun intended, stopped the rust. So this thing's going to get fluid filmed underneath eventually to help prolong the life of it. But as you can see, pretty decent shape for 253,000 miles. Mac T here, and we have this Ford Edge that I'm going to go over and tell you all how I got to 250,000 miles on my second Ford Edge, and what I've done as far as repairs for things that have broken down over this 250,000 mile run. We'll go ahead and go over it, and I'll point out everything that I've done with it. Some of the things that I have done to my Ford Edge breakdown wise that needed attention was when I very first had this 2011 Ford Edge with 3.5 and a front wheel drive. No PTU in this one. It's all front wheel drive. It's a limited version, and the first thing I had to do was replace the alternator. Alternator went bad. Did that almost 150,000 miles ago. Alternator's been working great. I put a Motorcraft alternator back in place of it as the OEM. So it's Motorcraft alternator. Didn't spare any expense on it. I'm glad I did, because that is a job you don't want to do twice. So went ahead, got the alternator replaced. In the same time, I put in a new battery. Went through a new battery, put an Odyssey Extreme battery in, a 950 cold cranking amps. It's an AGM battery, and I fully expect this thing to last nearly the rest of the life of this car. So did that. I do have, what else did I do to it? Not too much else. I have, wheel bearings, replaced wheel bearings on it. Rear wheel bearings, replaced them in pairs. One went bad. Did that about 220,000 miles or so. I replaced 2 rear wheel bearings. Rightly enough, the front wheel bearings are still the same original OE wheel bearings. I haven't changed them, haven't touched them. What else that broke down? As far as breakdowns, nothing. What did I change on it? I put a new motor mount in on the engine side, passenger side. Why? Because I wanted to make a video. I did not need to do it. It was still in great shape. So I replaced that. What else have I done to it? Gosh, folks, regular maintenance. I cannot really name too many things that I have had to do to this Edge. I did replace the valve cover on it to help with the oil consumption, because it was using a quart and a half of oil every oil change after 10,000 miles, and I have replaced the valve cover, and the valve cover is now reduced the oil down to a consumption of no more than 1/3 of a quart or so over a 10,000 mile, 200-hour run. So it is working out great there. It's really hard to say what I had to do otherwise. I replaced the purge valve, okay? Evap purge valve on it. Not because I had to, but I did it as a proactive thing, because those things tend to wear out. I tested it on a vacuum, and it was running, I think, 11 or 14 inch vacuum. So I went ahead and replaced it, because a new one runs at 21. So in order to stay ahead of the maintenance, some things I've replaced ahead of time to just keep things running good. Other than that, let's see, what else have I had to do to this thing? I had to have gosh, what was it? It's the original brake booster. You know, didn't have to touch that. So that probably goes into the face of a lot of people, the brake booster's failing, but I've never had to replace a brake booster. It has had power steering fluid filter changed. 2011 is the only model year they put them on, and not all of them at that. So I did that as far as maintenance. I did all the fluid changes, and I'll cover that at another time, but essentially I keep up on the fluid changes on this. But as far as anything failing in my Edge, I've pretty much named everything that I've done. This is the original motor, original transmission. It is the original you know, parts that came with the engine and everything. I can't say I've done too much to it. It's an all-highway car, so that may take into account a lot of things, but I've taken and changed everything that has to be changed on time as far as service, and I do not pay attention to the Ford service intervals. I do it myself. I have set my own service intervals, and I'll cover that more or less in the hot weather part of it. That could apply to everybody else, but I'm going to do one for a Middle East fluid change intervals, and we'll see how that one, you know, helps out everybody. But other than that, all I've done is change the plugs and coils. At 200,000 miles, I replaced the coils. I have religiously been replacing the plugs also, using synthetic oils. About 30 different brands of oil I run through this. They're all rated as synthetic, and I use that term lightly because, you know, basically it doesn't take much to get the name synthetic put on an oil can, but they all been synthetic oils. And the engine, if you want to see that, go to the link here I put for me removing the valve cover, and you can see what this engine looks like when I remove the valve cover, and it is pristine. No tarnishing or varnish or anything on any engine part, so it's in good shape. And nothing else. It's still got everything. I did read in a Oasis report that it did have a power steering line replaced early on. And oh, by the way, yes, I was struck by the nasty APIM. Yes, the accessory protocol interface module failed right after we bought this Ford Edge. Took it in and they replaced it under the extended warranty, and I have not had one lick of problems with the APIM ever since. And that's a pretty pricey replacement too if you have to do it on your own. But otherwise, I go through the standard things. Get 150,000 miles out of my brakes, yeah, because it's all highway, don't use my brakes. So it's probably on its third set of brakes now that I got on there, and I have the centric harmonically balanced slotted rotors with the Akbono pads. I run Michelin tires right now on it, the Michelin Premier LTX, so that keeps everything working good on here too. But other than that, LED light bulb upgrade, interior and exterior, and then I did a HID upgrade on this Edge. It changed it from halogen to HID lights using the bright light system that, or drive bright system here. And the drive bright did fail, one of the ballasts. Got it under warranty, set me a new ballast. Everything's good to go there. So I don't have a problem with my lights as far as that goes. But other than that, folks, I've done a few modifications to the engine. Nothing fantastic, it's all for sound. I did remove the resonator here for the intake, and I removed the exhaust resonator. Gives it a little more throaty sound when it's running. Did not improve gas mileage one little slick bit, but it sounds cool, so what the heck. I like a little rumble here when it's going. It doesn't sound real ricer, but it does sound better in my opinion. So if you want to go for sound, that's what you want to do. But overall, you know, general maintenance, folks, that's what I've done, but I've done an aggressive, severe duty type maintenance on it. So that's what's got me where I'm at. I've done all the maintenance that I have to do on it all the time, keep everything in good shape. Shocks, struts, I've replaced those, and we'll be replacing them very shortly again. This time I may go with new coils also that go with it, the springs. Since, you know, springs get old and weak, and 250,000 miles, you want to probably spruce things up a bit. So you know, I will in the future replace all 4 springs on this edge and go with the KYB shocks. And I will tell you from experience, Motorcraft strut mounts, KYB shocks, can't go wrong with that, folks. Those quick strut things, don't do it. Not worth the effort. But what else? Gosh, don't know. Everything's good. I've not had any problems with my edge. It gets about 25 miles per gallon on the average. Original injectors, you know, I mean, I've never changed a fuel injector. Getting 25 miles per gallon on it, ain't missing a beat. No spark misses, nothing. So the injectors are holding up really good. I run nothing but top tier fuel through it. And you can look that up on the internet. Just type in top tier fuel, and you'll find what stations sell top tier fuel. And that's all I run through. And I generally, probably, you guys say, oh gee, why are you running all this gas here? I run a 91 octane in it because it doesn't have alcohol in it. So that's what I run. And you can run whatever you want, the 87 with alcohol, whatever you do. I don't do it. I just run regular gasoline through my engine, so I go that route. Nothing else that I can really say. The transmission mount and the transmission torque mount are on my list to replace. Not so sure that they're worn out, but I figure, you know, proactive, right? So I will probably replace those here this next few months and get those videos up there too. But overall, I cannot complain about anything on this Ford Edge. It has taken me down the road and never left me off to the side. No matter what's gone on, it has always gotten me from point A to point B because I maintain it. That's really what I do. I maintain my Edge, and I fully expect to get it further down the road. Now you're all asking, what about water pump, Bill? This is the OE water pump that was installed in this engine when it was built. 253,000 miles on the OE water pump, folks. That's right. And I did it on the first Edge, the Orange Crush. 285,000 miles on the OE water pump. I have never had a water pump issue. Okay? So, that being said, I do test my oil, just in case, but I also do test my oils for my videos also, but I've never found an indication of anything going wrong with my water pump. It stays cool, runs about 194 degrees down the highway, 192. Wintertime it might get down as low as 190. Transmission's always ran at just a notch hotter than what the engine temperature is. Say up to 214 I've had it, but as a rule it stays about 199. So that ain't too terribly bad for the transmission. But again, original transmission too. Take care of it and it will get you down the road a long ways. Original throttle body on this thing. Again, I can't stress enough, I have not replaced any major components in this engine. The alternator is an accessory. Wheel bearings, Evap purge valve, APIM, those are the things that I've had replaced in it. Still running good. I've updated things to reusable items such as the air filter is an AEM dry flow air filter, and I change that about every 80 to 100,000 miles. Yeah, you heard me right, 80 to 100,000 miles. 25 miles per gallon, folks. Think about that when you go buy an air filter next time. But other than that, I can honestly say this Edge and my first Edge have been very reliable to me and not left me in the side of the road too much. My 2008 did leave me on the side of the road when the TSS OS sensors went. Got that repaired, got back on the road, never looked back, never had a problem. Learned a lot on the Orange Crush when I was driving it to 285,000 miles, and everything I learned from the Orange Crush at 2008 I have applied to this, and this is hands down a much better car than my 2008 would ever be. Mostly because it's a 1.5 gen. I love it. It runs so much better and it handles everything better, and it does not seem like it even has 250,000 miles on it, folks. It rides that good and it handles that good, and the engine runs that good. hands down, I'm going to say this is the best deal I ever had for a Ford Edge, and I'm happy to keep this thing and run it to 500,000 miles if I have to, and I probably will. Okay, so we're going to keep on motoring until that water pump gives out, whichever comes first, and then it'll just be a replacement engine. I ain't going to fix a 250,000 plus engine. I'm just going to replace it with a newer one and probably toss another transmission in it, and then just keep motoring this thing all the way down the road until it finally gives up or there's rust holes the size of my big fat head in there. But either way, I'm going to run this thing to the dirt and put the wheels back on it if I have to. But that is it, folks. I cannot state enough times how good this Edge has treated me, and I hope you can take and maintain yours and get it to 250,000+ miles like I have and keep motoring on. But that is basically what I have done to this Edge. It's had other little tiny things, maintenance-wise, replace a few bolts here and there when I'm working on it, but that's nothing. That's just all part of work. But that is what I've done to this Edge, and I hope you guys can follow suit, maintain your Edge, and it will take you 250,000 miles. This is Mac T, and I want to make sure that you all understand that we have the Facebook group and we have the YouTube channel. Join up with Mac T Ford Edge on Facebook, and also I have MACTGarage.com website that has all the maintenance information you would ever want on your Ford Edge. Oil testing, forescan information, and all your manuals and everything else you would need are all in the MACTGarage.com website. So go to that website. Also, the Band of One makes some great music that you're going to hear after this, along with any other bonus footage. And remember, my feet hit the floor today, and I'm having a great day. And I want you to have a great day, too. And along with Mercy Girl tossing a couple of one-liners at you, I'm going to call it a day. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Mac T's videos, and remember to like and subscribe. This is a Mercy Girl production.